Welcome to the Saints That Serve podcast,
where each week your hosts dive into the crossroads of faith,
culture,
and the unknown. Christ is Lord,
and the kingdom is now. We are the Saints That Serve. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Saints That Serve podcast.
That's the Saints That Serve podcast.
Yeah, boy.
And this is episode 38.
38, baby.
Wow, we're getting up there in age, aren't we?
Getting old.
That's right. We're almost 40.
We're like a fine wine, though.
Aged and... Is that the perfect age for a wine? 38 years?
Yeah.
Perfect.
For American wine, yeah.
Yeah. So everybody, savor us like a fine 38-year-old wine.
Savor us like a fine Tennessee mountain wine.
Tennessee mountain wine.
Yeah.
Man, it's been a minute.
It has been a minute. For those of you who don't know, we bulk recorded 3 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jairus departed for another country for a week.
It was more than a week.
Yeah, you're right. It was more than a week.
It was 8 days, so 1 week and 1 day. Yeah, we went to Little Foggy France town.
Little Foggy France town. That sounds like an indie game.
Or an indie band.
Or an indie band, Little Foggy France town.
Little Foggy France town. It's a tongue twister too, a little bit.
That's crazy. But now you're back.
I am back.
Now he's back in the atmosphere.
Hey, easy. We don't want to get copyright strike for how spot on that was.
Tell me.
Do you want to? Well, I don't even remember the lyrics.
Yeah. It's a little blah 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 blah, and then it's like a couple of words, and then it's nah.
Yeah, it's like a couple of coherent words, and then a lot of blah 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 blah.
For me, I couldn't do it word for word.
Tell me, could you
shooting star? Take the time to dance, Christ. Milky Way. I don't know.
What is the best mumble singer? Like a band to you that like they're saying something, but we all know good and well whatever they're saying. Like you don't know what they're saying.
Is it? I think it's Dave Matthews.
Dave Matthews.
Yeah. I don't want to be with you. That's Dave Matthews, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And who sings Even though?
That was mine. It was Pearl Jam.
Yeah. Even oh. Blah, 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 and
he's saying something, but no one knows. No one knows what he's saying.
You no, never mind. You didn't watch it. There's an episode in Community where they like bring up Dave Matthews Band a bunch, but it's like only his true fans call him Dave.
I personally know him.
I can't say the title of the episode because it has a naughty word in it, but basically someone's going around the school dropping quarters down people's pants, like in their butt cracks.
Easy.
Yeah, and so, but like they played out like it's a CSI episode. It's so funny, dude. But yeah, there's Dave Matthews in that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I thought of when I thought of Dave Matthews. Anyways, you got any announcements?
Just that if you want to see us do a wonderful worship night live stream,
heck yeah,
tune in this Friday.
Yes.
I knew I was going to throw that on you, and you were going to be like, is it? Yeah, it is. It is. June 6th.
Yep. And it will start at 6:30, and then the worship will go live at 7.
That's right. So tune in to that on No, not Facebook. Not yet. Everybody, go, if you are listening to this episode
And you haven't liked us.
and you haven't liked us on Facebook, go like us on Facebook, because we have to be over 100 followers on Facebook to be able to live stream on Facebook.
Yep.
But we will be live on YouTube and Twitch, God willing, if nothing messes up.
Yeah.
We had issues last time where it was working on Twitch, but YouTube, it was not working.
Yeah, it was glitching on YouTube for some reason. But Twitch was just fine, which is weird.
Yeah.
But that's okay. It's okay.
Mm-hmm. So, trip talk real quick.
Okay.
More about the plane ride.
Okay.
It was so annoying to be on. Like, again, first world problems. Yes, I went to like Europe on a wonderful trip. Like, it was me and my wife's our honeymoon.
Mhm.
Not honeymoon. Well, 1 year after our honeymoon.
And
Gotcha.
now, our feature presentation.
Go ahead.
So, but, it was our 1 year anniversary trip. And, I'm blessed to be able to go to somewhere like Europe,
Yeah.
and be blessed with a wonderful wife.
Yes.
But complaints. No, the onboard movie situation was really weird,
Mm-hmm.
where like it would play the movie for 1 minute and then just freeze. And then like for like 10 seconds, you would lose the movie. And that would be through the whole movie.
That's weird.
On every movie. And I was looking around and it's like, it's happening to everybody.
Yeah.
Like on watching Ashley's screen, and it would pause and you'd have to go back. But like, you know how like it'll give you like the option to go back a couple of seconds?
Mm-hmm.
It was only 30 seconds to go back. So you'd have to watch like 30 seconds of something to then like,
Weird.
it would then skip, and maybe you would luckily get the part you missed.
Yeah.
And if like you're watching something stupid, it was, okay, whatever, I missed something.
Yeah.
But that's not how I watch movies. I got to know what's going on.
What airline did you guys fly?
It was Air France.
Oh, that's oh man, should have known that one.
Mm-hmm. But I watched Dark Shadows, the Johnny Depp movie.
Oh yeah, the
Tim Burton
vampire one, right?
vampire one. Yeah, I wouldn't watch that. I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, because it's like got vampire vibes because he is a vampire,
Mm-hmm.
but it's more so like love triangles, right?
Yeah, it was
Weird.
overly naughty.
Yeah.
Yeah. After that, I'm like, I can't. I just played my Switch. The rest of the flight, the 8-hour flight.
Jeez.
I was just like, I can't. I tried to watch another movie. And I'm like, this is too annoying. All the skipping.
Yeah.
So I know that got a little off track there, but
Air France, everybody.
Air France, go ahead and go complain and try to get them to fix their buffering issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody tune in this Friday for our third worship night live stream.
Yep. Also, if you need prayer, feel free to reach out to us. We pray every Friday for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And you can reach out to us at our email address, which is saintsthatserve@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
And that's saintsthatserve@gmail.com. Or there is a link at the bottom of the show notes for this episode. It'll take you to a direct messaging, and you can message us that way. Just reach out to us if you need prayer for anything. We will be praying for you. So I think that's it for the announcements, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we need to get into what our topic is tonight.
So Tyler, this is your topic. Tyler, this is your transition into the main topic.
We're going to bring you downtown.
Which is so funny how polar opposite the main topic is to sports.
Yep. We're going to ease back. We're going to relax. We're going to pretend that we're all nestled around a table, fire blazing in the background. We're all enjoying bread, fresh baked loaf of bread, and a beverage. and we're discussing the fantastic adventures we've all had together. And now we're going to take that atmosphere and talk about how we read it in a book somewhere.
So, I'm going to need you to roll that D20 for initiative.
All right, here we go. Are you ready?
Yeah. What does it say?
I got a 17, baby.
You failed. All right,
Dang it.
episode over.
That's the end of the episode. No, we are talking about the genre fantasy.
Fantasy.
We're going to be discussing the books, the movies, and the games.
Mm-hmm.
So
not last week, geez. We got on our little cult kick there for a couple episodes, but I think right before that,
we didn't do it. No, it was one episode. We talked about the Catholic Church, and then we talked about Scientology.
like I said, the cult. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But no, right before that,
You better be careful. Pope Leo may come and get you.
he might. He is from Boston.
He is the. I thought it was Detroit.
Oh, he's Northern, American Northern.
Only Pope who's pro Second Amendment.
There you go. He's got my vote.
I don't know that.
I was part of the conclave. He got my vote. But no, if you want to go back a couple of episodes, we had a science fiction episode.
Yes, we did.
So now we're going to have a fantasy episode.
Yes, we are. We're going to get into it. And I know you've got notes.
I do.
And I've got some notes too. But I just want to clear the air.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Because when I was doing research for this, like the origin of fantasy,
Mm-hmm.
right, as a genre, everyone was like, you could relate it back to the ancient stories of old, like
That's actually what my notes said.
Beowulf or the Arthurian legends.
Let me read my notes, just my line.
Brothers Grimm. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to read that. It's, and then you're going to completely bash it, what I'm about to say. But
Go for it.
fantasy has its earliest roots in mythology, folklore, and religious texts. Stories like the Epic of Gilgamesh, Homer's Odyssey, Norse sagas, and Arthurian legends feature magical creatures, gods, epic quests, and heroic destinies.
Yes.
These tales laid the foundation for fantasy's recurring themes: the battle between good and evil, the hero's journey, and the existence of magical realms.
Yeah. So I just want to say that those first two are in like almost all types of literature.
Yes.
So, but okay, fantasy. There's two basically like main subgenres under the genre of fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
There's high fantasy and there's low fantasy.
Right. High fantasy being Tolkien.
Tolkien and like Wheel of Time, where you're taken to a whole other world.
Mhm.
And it has these fantastical magical creatures and all the different things, right? Adventure and bizarre things, right? And then low fantasy is things like C.S. Lewis and J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter, where
Which-
it's in our world.
It's modern day or close-ish to modern day. It's modern.
No, it doesn't have to do with time. It has to do with
Or-
reality.
Well, that's what I was trying to say. I just can't say it correctly.
It has to do with they're taking inspiration from our reality, using existing things from our reality, and then incorporating the fantastic into it.
Mm-hmm. A lot of times, like you said, the Harry Potter, where it's somebody living a normal human life, then being flung into this world magically.
Correct. And same with C.S. Lewis, right?
Mm-hmm.
C.S. Lewis is the Chronicles of Narnia.
The Chronicles, what?
Of Narnia. The different people are living in the world, and then they're brought into this fantastic universe
Mm-hmm.
that parallels with our world. So it's kind of a hybrid of the two.
It's funny, too, because a lot of times it feels like, at least in the two examples we gave for sure, it's not only are these people being flung into the world with low fantasy, it's that they are the chosen one, the special picked out heroes of this new found world that they are now a part of.
Yeah. Yeah. This is true, but that's because they're the main character.
Yeah.
So
You never have a story where the main character is like, actually really doesn't do anything, That's just not how stories work.
yeah, stories are, you kind of follow the main character. It's whatever.
I'm writing a fantasy story where a janitor gets thrown into a fantasy world and all he does is clean up after the heroes of the world. Anime does that a lot, by the way.
Yeah.
Like there's a whole genre right now in anime called isekai, where it's essentially somebody being, a lot of times they die and then they're reborn in a new world. And so but a lot of times they remember their knowledge from being human in the human world. And so it's everywhere. Isekais are massive right now.
I do find it's somewhat enjoyable, the comedic aspect of like high fantasy creatures or characters being flung into our world and our reality and having to try and accomplish mundane tasks like using a fax machine or ordering something at a drive-through or, like things like that we just do.
Does anything like that come to mind, or is that an idea you just came up with? Because that's really funny.
I have seen like things that kind of toe the line with it. Like the Netflix movie Bright. Where, like they take a modern spin on a mythical world, right? Mm-hmm. But they incorporate heavily from just what our society looks like today, right?
Yeah, so it's more of
city deal.
Yeah, it's fantasy intertwined with the urban modern day setting.
Yeah, and so it's like you see I'm trying to think of something from the movie.
Like orcs, like integrated into,
orcs getting on a bus and taking a bus ride. Enchanted, that's a comedy. And
the Disney film, right?
The Disney film, yes. And
where the Disney princess gets flung into...
Animated Disney princess gets flung into the real world. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's kind of funny. I can't think of anything else right now.
There's probably plenty. Like I couldn't think any, and then you named two. So I'm sure there's more where it's this person who...
There is one where it's park rangers at a park and a troop of orcs from a fantasy world come through basically a wormhole into this national park. And so the park rangers have to fight off this band of orcs. So it is a comedy.
Yeah.
But it is funny because they're fighting orcs and they're like, well.
So I got confused because I thought you were talking about your son because that's his code name is Park Ranger.
Oh, yeah. No,
I'm like, what are you talking about?
No. Like actual national park rangers. And, they've got shotguns and they're like shooting these orcs. Anyways, I can't remember what the name of that movie is, though. So I can't.
If y'all know what he's talking about, please leave us a comment in the comment section about what movie John's talking about. Because I'd like to see that. Or was it a show, a movie?
It was a movie. It was like a B-rated film.
And it was like park rangers defending the park from orcs who are coming through portals.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Putting y'all to the test in the comic section.
I think you can find it on Prime Video. I believe that's where I watched it.
I believe you just made that all up and...
You made that all up. Yeah, so that's pretty funny. And then the Dawn of the Dead, like the first one, where the guy gets sucked into a fantasy world with his car.
Are you thinking of the Evil Dead?
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Because Dawn of the Dead is the one where they're trapped with the zombies in the mall.
So maybe it's the Evil Dead.
And that is the second Evil Dead movie.
Yes, where he gets thrown in. Yes.
Yeah. The Army of Dark. I think it's called Army of Darkness. It's not actually called The Evil Dead.
New tab on the computer. Army of...
Bruce Campbell. I was close.
Yes. Army of Darkness. He's got his...
shotgun
I believe
arm.
it's a Winchester. And then, he's got the chainsaw arm and his car. I can't remember what his car is, but he gets thrown into this fantasy world that's facing this shroud of darkness.
Do you know what the famous catchphrase is from that movie?
No.
There's a famous line.
What is it?
This is my boomstick, showing all of the people in the fantasy world his shotgun.
Oh, okay.
He's like, I like essentially saying this is my magic wand, but it's just a shotgun.
I've never heard that line. So
Really?
yeah. The big one that comes to mind for me when you talk about older movies is that one movie where it's like it's interdimensional or alien beings, but they're disguised. And so if you wear the glasses, you can see them. I can't remember what the name of the movie is.
That is, oh man, I know exactly.
But he's like, I'm here to chew bubblegum and kick butt. And I'm all out of bubblegum. Yeah.
What was it? I know exactly what you're talking about. But
that's more, but that's, you know what? That's along the sci-fi realm.
That movie's actually not that old, by the way.
No, it's like late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, but it's black and white. The whole film is black and white, so it makes you think it's older than it is.
No, it's not. It's not black and white.
Everything I've ever seen is that movie's black and white.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen it in color.
You know that they have It's a Wonderful Life in color, and that movie's really old.
They do?
Yeah, me and Ashley, getting a little Christmas talk here, but real quick, on Amazon Prime, they have It's a Wonderful Life, where they redid the whole movie in color instead of black and white.
That's pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
I know they can do that because, I mean, they've got the...
They just have to go frame by frame and color in each frame like a picture to essentially restore the movie into a color format. It has a very specific look to it, like a kind of a faded color, but there is color to it. And it really actually adds to the movie.
Yeah. That's that got really big with like the World War II documentaries. I remember that being a thing. Like everyone's like, World War II in color.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I get the idea in black and white. You know what I mean? Like,
and I'm about to bring it around full circle, but do you know who made one of those? World War II?
Mm-mm.
Peter Jackson.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
I think that was like, he was the one who did that, and that kind of started that craze.
That is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So talking about Peter Jackson, let's get into this fantasy.
Back into fantasy.
So from what my research, from what I was seeing, to me, fantasy starts around high fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Starts with George MacDonald.
And what did he
with his stories of the Faces and the Princess and the Goblin.
Princess and the Goblin.
That's like the biggest book he wrote.
Mm-hmm. What year did that come out?
I don't have the note for it, but I believe it was like 18. I don't know. But he's like he's a really big...
Oh, I have it in my notes.
You got the date?
Yeah. It's, what is it? Fantastes, you said?
Fantastes is like, yeah, some books that he's written.
So it's 1858.
Okay.
Fantastes and Lilith by George MacDonald.
So Lilith, I'm still confused about because, so it's a love story, but Lilith is also a figure in ancient Jewish lore. She's a demon, Lilith, and Jewish like culture says that she was Adam's second wife. After the fall, him and Eve separate for a time, and he partners up with this lady named Lilith, or this demonic person named Lilith, and they have offspring, and then he's able to rekindle things with Eve, and
that's in Jewish.
That is folklore or ancient tradition, I guess you could say.
Okay,
but that, like, from that point on, there's been this idea. Well, I shouldn't say idea. It's the spirit of Lilith, or a demonic force, and they'll use the term Lilith, and it has to do with. I'm not going to get into what it has to do with, but that's why it's confusing to me that this Christian minister who writes fantasy books, he wrote a love story and he named it Lilith. I was just like,
and wait, but Lilith has actually nothing to do with the Jewish folklore. It's just in name?
Correct.
Okay.
To my understanding, it is totally the only thing that it has connected to it is the name. That's it. But anyways, The Princess and the Goblin came out in 1872. That's when he released the book.
Gotcha.
And his work with The Princess and the Goblin is what is inspiration for Lewis Carroll.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually talk about how George MacDonald kind of like mentored one-on-one Lewis Carroll.
Really?
Lewis Carroll would come to MacDonald's house and like hang out with him. And he shared, like, they motivated him to actually publish Alice.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I was going to say, if no one knows who Lewis Carroll is, they wrote Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. So Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah. Did I say he? I believe Lewis Carroll's the girl.
That's why I said they. I was like, I'm not sure. I think it's a person.
Yeah, it's a lady. I'm
Okay.
sorry, guys. I think. Wait. Oh, hold on. No, it's a man.
Okay.
The picture that showed up.
It was very feminine looking.
It was a little feminine. I was like, wait a minute, what? And then, it's a gentleman. Yeah, that's what threw me for a loop is because I saw the picture and I was like, maybe it is a girl, but I always remember Alice in Wonderland being written by a man.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, Lewis Carroll. Yeah.
It's weird because Lewis is a man's name, and I guess we call like Carroll is it's two.
Yeah.
The last thing you hear,
names.
two first names. Yeah.
But so he actually would like spend time with the McDonald's and they motivated him to actually publish his work, Alice.
You said McDonald's?
Yep. Yeah. So, but then later on, he also was the inspiration for two pillars in the fantasy novel genre. And those two pillars are C.S. Lewis
and
J.R.R. Tolkien.
Yeah. Which is funny because, like, I'm sure a lot of people see those two people as the start, even though it's really not, you know?
Yeah.
Let me read this real quick. So, like we just discussed, the 19th century saw fantasy take shape in literary fiction with works like Fantasies and Lilith by George MacDonald.
Yep.
Alice Ventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, and The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about Frank Baum, but yeah, I do know that was a big one.
These stories brought whimsy and surrealism to children's literature, but also hinted at the deeper themes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Which, like you said, really the big ones are C.S. Lewis and Tolkien.
Yeah, and it's important, like, these guys, they drew inspiration from a multitude of things, but they both acknowledged that a lot of their inspiration for writing fantasy came from The Princess and the Goblin, written by George MacDonald.
Mm-hmm. It's so interesting to me, this, like, these people all knew each other type kind of thing.
Well,
not necessarily directly with all of them, but it's just like there is a line that kind of is more closely knit line that doesn't really exist today.
Yeah. In
inspiration and connections in creators.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, Lewis went to McDonald's house and, like you don't hear about these, like I guess you'd kind of do in music and in creation, but I guess there's so much out there today.
Yeah.
But back then there wasn't as much, so it was more apparent maybe?
Well, I think that a lot of writing that happened in the era that it was the 1800s into the 1900s was happening in very specific places, and so like, because here anyone can get on the computer around the world. Mm-hmm. Like, I know it's harder in certain places than others, but we've gotten to the point to where you can hop into an internet cafe in most countries of the world and jot down your thoughts and post them on the internet, and they're there. But, back in the 1800s, 1900s, you wrote by hand what you wanted, and then you had to put a lot of work into getting it to publishers, and they had to acknowledge or accept it and then put it through a printing press, and then
probably because there wasn't probably a lot of printing presses, so the people who are writers probably more flocked around or gathered around places that allowed them to publish their works.
Yeah, a lot of people that are writing, especially extracurricular things like this, they tend to move towards things like either clerical professions or education. And so they're at these colleges or universities, and they're all sharing ideas and passing ideas around. Or, they're a part of the cloth, if you will. They're a minister of some kind, and so their writings are getting passed because not a lot of people are reading. Like in the 1800s, early 1900s, majority of the world's still illiterate. So
only the educated.
There's only a handful of people that are educated. And so it's like if you're writing something just to write it, there's only like a handful of people that can read it. So your stuff's getting passed back and forth and ideas are getting bounced off each other. But it's not like today where reading's been pushed so hard that in first world countries, most people can read. Maybe not well, but they can read. I did want to bring up, because in my research, someone brought up Bram Stoker, the author of Dracula.
Yeah.
And that is, I would not consider Dracula fantasy.
No, it is horror.
It's horror, but someone used the specific term Victorian Gothic horror. And they put Bram Stoker's Dracula in that. I think they put Frankenstein in that. Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah, there's Wolfman.
There's a couple other ones, but they're not introducing the fantastic magical universe that's either in our world or in a whole other world.
No, it focused on one evil entity.
Ominous, undefeatable entity. Yeah. Well, maybe not undefeated, but you know what I mean? Like, it's an ominous character that seems supernatural.
Yeah. The titular character is typically the villain.
Whoa. Look at that term, titular character.
I know. I read a book in the 1800s.
Whoa, I went back in time.
I know how to read.
So anyways, so we've been mainly talking about books, but one that we've got to bring up is Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling.
I thought you were going to say real cool, but before we talk about that, we talked about the pillars, which is Tolkien.
Yep.
He wrote The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, probably some of the most, deep, convoluted storytelling, just planning around a world to tell a story, and just the lore so deep, just the deepest of high fantasy.
Yep. And he did it all for Gondor.
For Gondor.
No, he did it for himself.
Yeah. And
his son.
Yeah.
We'll just say that.
And then C.S. Lewis wrote The Chronicles of Narnia.
What?
Of Narnia. I think we said that earlier, but just to reiterate.
C.S. Lewis actually wrote a handful of stuff, and people are unaware of a lot of his other writings, but he wrote a sci-fi trilogy, and he wrote wrote another book that kind of falls in the line of fantasy, kind of falls in the line of sci-fi, but it's more spiritual focused. So it's called I've got to look it up because I forgot what it's called. But basically it's playing on Christian concepts and kind of dealing with the idea of the Great Divorce. That's what I'm thinking of. The Great Divorce, where it's a bunch of people, it's kind of the idea is a bunch of people die and they're taken off and they're taken to the same place, and it's kind of hard, But as they travel further and further, it gets better and better and better. And the idea is that the people that like find it tough and hard and just stop and give up, they're in their hell. But as people keep progressing and pushing forward, the bondage is released and they get closer and closer to the idea of heaven or the Lord. So it is a pretty interesting concept. But in that book, I don't remember when I read it, I don't remember this being in there, but I guess it is. He actually gives a tribute to George MacDonald. One of George MacDonald's, it's the unpreached or unspoken sermons, I think is what his book's called. And so C.S. Lewis actually refers to something in that book, in his book, The Great Divorce.
So y'all heard it here first, folks. You can be Christian, write fantasy, and it be good.
Yeah. But yeah.
But Harry Potter.
Harry Potter is probably not probably. It is the most copies sold book, fantasy book, is Harry Potter. Harry Potter is low fantasy.
Right.
So if you're just doing fantasy in general, Harry Potter takes the cake with most copies sold. But if you separate the two genres into high and low fantasy, C.S. Lewis's The Lord of the Rings has the most copies sold.
Say that.
C.S. Lewis.
I was going to say
J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings has the most copies sold.
That was not for Gondor.
That was not for.
That was for Aslan.
That was. I don't have a want. Anyways. But yeah, so Harry Potter is really up there. And that is very recent because Harry Potter was released in the late 1990s.
98, I believe, 99 possibly, when the first book came out.
Yep. And it's so new, it's still controversial.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I mean, I was talking to you about it. You know, me and Ashley, when we went on our European trip, we went and saw the Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. And in that, even being a stage play that's more recent, has worldly hidden undertones in that as well.
Yeah.
So what I would say, a lot of controversial stuff.
Yeah. It is unfortunate, but I think people have said that J.K. Rowling, who's the author of Harry Potter, claims to be Christian. I say it that way because I don't personally know, but allegedly she practices faith in some way or another.
The problem with that is saying that you practice faith is such a wide casted net of a statement. It could mean anything.
Yeah, well, and the reason I bring it up is because that is an argument that Christians use to justify why they're comfortable with reading the books and watching the movies. It's because, like, yes, it is focused on magic. But the author is a Christian and is using redemptive Christological concepts in the story. So that's why if you take it for just the story, it's great. But if you're focused on all the extra fluff, then yeah, it's not that great.
Yeah.
So that's the argument used for Christians reading Harry Potter and watching Harry Potter. And
that's the problem too, is J.K. Rowling, whatever you call it, however you say it.
However you want to say it.
However you want to say it. A lot of the worldly inappropriate things that is coming out from Harry Potter is all these things that came out after the books had come out.
Yeah.
Like you said, like her wanting to incorporate and keep attention on her property for an extended amount of time. And it's like, oh, this hidden detail or this hidden detail, this is what this actually meant after the publication of the books. retconning a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
The initial release of Harry Potter had no concerns when it came to inappropriate worldly things, just the witchcraft aspect to it.
Yeah.
I'm not defending it in that sense, but it was a lot of things that came out afterwards. A lot of what I feel like is a lot of changes made to get attention back on the property, purposely creating those controversies.
Yeah.
Because even now, things that she is saying is creating controversies around her property to get eyes on it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've seen the movies. I haven't read the books. I've seen the movies, and I mean, they're all right as far as an overall story.
mm-hmm.
We just come back around to because we've talked about Harry Potter in the past.
Yeah, I feel like that's like, besides Lord of the Rings, we come back to Harry Potter a lot in our
It
conversations.
keeps on coming up. But, you know, it is that deal. It's like, everything about it revolves around magic, specifically in the witchcraft and divination magic. And so, you know, as Christians, we get in the Bible where God says have nothing to do with it. And it's like, okay, don't practice magic. Don't partake of magic. And the concern with Harry Potter is because it's so fun to get into the storyline, get in with the characters and pretend. People they'll buy wands, they'll walk around in robes, and they'll pretend to cast spells or do different things, incantations, because they want to be immersed in the story of Harry Potter. And that's taking it too far. Like pretending to practice magic.
Yeah.
You don't realize what door you're opening.
Right.
You know,
like you might be repeating these things from these movies that they're saying, but you don't know what you're saying.
Well, and that's the thing is people argue like, well, it's Latin. Like they're just saying Latin stuff and it doesn't mean anything. And it's like, that's great and all, but the reality is you don't practice magic. You don't practice witchcraft. So you don't actually know what they use and what they say for their incantations. For what they do. And what if it's what if it's less of what you say and more of what you do?
The intent behind of what you're saying.
The intent and the physical action, right? The atmosphere that you're creating. Does that open doors to a force that is waiting for an opening to get in, you know? So as Christians, you know what? Holy Spirit convict you and guide you in what you need to do in all things in holiness. But when it comes to fantasy, from Harry Potter to Lord of the Rings, practicing magic, meaning incantations, witchcraft, divination, and these are all fun words to say, right? They're very poetic. But things like Ouija boards, things like wands, things like declaring curses over people, all those things are from a posture of magic. And we're to have nothing to do with that. So as believers, so keep that in mind. I mean, even with the Lord of the Rings, like there's not really a whole lot of incantations to be able to quote from Lord of the Rings or divination stuff, but still, you need to be careful when it comes to magic because there is there is things that are alluded to that are magic in those books.
And plus, didn't you tell me one time, I feel like maybe I'm going to butcher this, but Gandalf isn't really doing magic, right? Like if you get into the deep lore of Lord of the Rings, it's not magic or witchcraft that he is practicing, right? Because that is a wizard who is portrayed in the movies as doing magic.
So what Tolkien did is truly high fantasy. He created a completely different universe and used concepts from ours, because this is the only one we've got, right? Like, so he used things that were relatable to us or that we would have an understanding of, but he truly did create an alternate universe. So, you know, some people groups consider the wizards with magical powers.
And that's within the world.
And that's within the world. And then other...
The Lord of the Rings world and...
Lord of the Rings world. And even in Lord of the Rings, each race of people have their own kind of magic that they use or that they have within them that's just a part of their life. Like the elves have their own kind of elven magic, and they use it in their arts and in their crafts. And it's the same for the dwarves. The dwarves have their own kind of magic that they use in their smithing and in their crafting. Men have their own kind of magic. The Dark Lord Saruman and his superior Morgoth, they have their own kind of dark magic, right? And so everything has their own thing, and the term is used magic for this supernatural force. Right?
But it's not really in magic in the way that we are talking about witchcraft.
Yeah, it's not necessarily, not all of it would be like compared to witchcraft. When you get into the dark magic stuff, that would be more along the lines of like witchcraft, incantation, necromancy stuff, right?
Right.
So in the books, it's kind of like cut and dry, like, hey, the bad magic is things that you do to hone in your ability and your skill in. All the other magic, it's default. Like, it's just a part of who you are. That's what makes it a magical realm, is the idea is like, these people are not like reading the books to get better at their kind of magic. It's just a part of who they are. And they use it in their different skills to increase the skills, not to increase the magic. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's the idea. And so, yeah, the wizards, they're what you could relate to, like an angelic entity that's sent down to the world, to Middle Earth, to be helpers to the forces of good, to overcome the forces of evil. So they are more so angelic or demigod-like characters. And they do have supernatural abilities, but it comes from their magical song that they sing from the creator, Ulavata, who created all things in this song that he started singing, and it brought all things into creation. So, you know, there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot, but I guess that's what I would get at is there is the idea of witchcraft and everything that has to go with that. But it is very clearly like, don't do that. Like, that's what bad guys do.
Yeah.
Whereas with J.K. Rowling,
it's
Harry Potter,
it's a gray area.
It's very gray. It's like, it's less about who's doing it. It's less about.
It's not about what you're doing, and like you said, who's doing it. Is it the evil person doing the magic? What's
your motivation?
Right, because they kind of talk about it in Harry Potter of like, oh, the forbidden spells. They never really say they're evil. It's just they're forbidden because they do harm. But good people and bad people, both in the series, use the forbidden spells.
Yeah.
So again, like you're saying, it's oh yeah, he used it on, the good guy used it, but it's because he was stopping the good guy.
Yeah.
So in that world, it's witchcraft as a whole is framed as a moral gray area, and it's like you're saying, it's depending on how somebody uses it.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot in it, but you know what, dude? Seek first the kingdom of God.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're doing that first and foremost, then you'll be all right.
Mm-hmm. We talk about it on every time we get into these episodes of media.
Yeah.
If this is not your main focal point and you watch it for entertainment, but don't practice the things within the thing you're watching, then it's okay that you watch Harry Potter. As long as you are not making that your
It's not
idol.
a salvation issue. Yes, it's not a salvation issue. Keep in mind, if there's someone who's coming out of the occult and they're like screaming at the top of their lungs to all the Christians out there, like, don't watch Harry Potter, don't read the books, you're inviting things into your house that you don't want there. Maybe don't involve yourself in that stuff for the sake of your brother in Christ.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
it's really hard. Once again, we come back around to Harry Potter. It's a really gray area, you know? And so I'm trusting the Spirit to guide and lead us in all things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would say to everybody. Really bring it before the Lord. Like, hey, should I be doing this? Should I be using this as a form of entertainment? You know? And let the Spirit lead you. It's kind of like what we talk about when we approach the Bible. Like when we see something in the Bible that's hard, do we try to explain it away so that we can keep our worldview? Or do we change our worldview
To fit.
to line up with what the Bible says?
Right.
And it has to be that way. Is we have to, whatever we are practicing or we're comfortable in, we need to test it up against God's word and the Holy Spirit. And if the Holy Spirit and God's word is calling us to conform or to, I guess I should say reform,
Mm-hmm.
then we need to do that. We don't need to try and explain away or justify away why we can do this, that, or the other. All right. So all that to say, fantasy books, most sold copies in low fantasy.
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
That was a lot to say.
A lot to say. Can we talk about movies for a minute?
Yeah, I wanted to actually. I've got a list here
Of movies?
well, I've got two different lists, right? It's, I have a list of the most popular fantasy movies and then the highest grossing fantasy movies.
Okay. I looked up highest grossing, and can I just say it's kind of gross what the highest grossing fantasy movie is?
I know, right? So
Like,
let's.
not what I expected.
No, it's weird, right?
Really weird.
Okay, because like what people consider fantasy and what is labeled fantasy.
Within the community of fantasy, what's considered fantasy, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's at the top. But then when you look at strictly the labeling and what is actually out there, you're like, what?
What's crazy too is I'm looking at this list and all of these movies have come out after the year 2000.
Yeah.
So let's just, I'll kind of go through them a little bit quicker
Okay.
because there is a lot more we got to talk about.
Yes.
But number one, Frozen 2.
Is the highest grossing fantasy film.
Yes.
Guys, think
It made $1.45 billion.
that is stupid.
Mm-hmm.
That's the number one fantasy. I blame all of you millennial moms taking your kids to the movie theaters to watch Frozen 2.
The thing is Frozen 2 is not a bad movie.
No, I mean, it's all right. But I'm just saying, like, where were you when Return of the King came out?
Hey, don't worry. Number two, this one made me mad. The moment I read it, I'm like, is that really fantasy? But based off what we've talked about,
Yep.
Barbie is a fantasy movie.
By technicality, Barbie is high fantasy.
Low fantasy.
It's in our world? I thought it was...
It's a little bit of both. They do jump back and forth.
Oh, okay. So it's low fantasy. Okay.
So it's Barbie, and it's that thing of somebody from a different world that we were discussing going to the modern world
Yeah,
from their world.
I got you.
So even though it doesn't really hold the typical aspects of fantasy that we think of, like, magicians, orcs, elves, all that kind of stuff, it still holds that theming.
I saw this and I did not agree with it, but technically I think Avatar, the movie,
Blue Alien.
Blue Alien Avatar,
Yeah.
is technically, someone was trying to make the argument that it's fantasy. It's not. It's science fiction.
Yeah, it's sci-fi.
It's,
But it could be
but people make the argument that it is fantasy.
sci-fi fantasy.
I guess you could say that. But the point is if you include Avatar as fantasy,
That would be
it would be number one.
Yeah.
And it would be $1 billion more than
Frozen.
Frozen 2, which is crazy.
Well, Avatar is like the highest grossing film of all time.
Yeah. It's crazy, dude.
Or was at one point. I don't know if it ever got knocked down.
I think it still is.
Yeah.
$2.9 billion.
Yeah. So, geez. Barbie, $1.44 billion. Barely under Frozen 2. I'm sure they'll we got to get that top spot, so they'll probably re-release it at some point. But
what, Barbie?
Barbie. If they do that, they have to release Oppenheimer again. Because there was that whole thing where it's like a stark difference of when both those movies came out and they were competing with one another.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer is such a better movie than Barbie.
It didn't really pull me in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I like a good Christopher Nolan flick. And that movie you have to watch. Like that is a IMAX movie, theater movie. You have to watch that movie in a theater.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're going by box office only, then Avatar is at $2.9 billion. It's the highest grossing film.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Now, here you go. I always love this. It's like James Cameron has some of the most movies in the top 10 with Titanic and Avatar. And it's like, in Avatar, he makes movies that make a lot of money, but are forgettable. And the reason I say that, name a character's name without struggling to remember it from Avatar.
Jake Sully.
Besides Jake Sully. Name another character.
I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Besides Jack and Rose, name another character's name in Titanic.
I never watched Titanic.
Oh, well.
So
there you go.
But so here, I just pulled up quickly highest grossing films worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
The top 4 are Avatar, Avengers Endgame, Avatar The Way of Water, Titanic.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So 3 James Cameron movies.
Yep. And Frozen 2 shows up on this list. Guess.
I think it's like 9, right?
15.
Okay. I was close.
Yeah. It's way low down the list.
But we're talking about fantasy.
Top of the list for fantasy. So
are you looking at the highest grossing right now for fantasy? Do you have that list in front of you? Are you able to see it?
I can pull it up.
Don't pull it up.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say, what do you think number 3 is?
It is, we said Frozen 2, we said Barbie. It is Harry Potter, Deathly Hallows Part 2.
All right. You skipped one. That is number 4.
Oh, that's number 4?
Yeah.
So is it Frozen?
No.
Dang.
See, it is fantasy, but you wouldn't consider this to be fantasy either.
Okay, what is it?
The Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh, dang it.
So, through number 3, Super Mario Brothers. Number 4, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2.
What did Mario Brothers gross at?
$1.36 billion. Yeah.
And that is like a newer movie.
Yeah, 2023.
That's crazy.
That movie is really good, by the way.
It is really good. I mean, no shade on it. It's good.
Mm-hmm. And then number 5 is Frozen.
Okay.
Number 6 is Beauty and the Beast, the 2017 Emma Watson film.
What?
Yeah. It's crazy, right?
Ridiculous.
Then this is going to make you sick. It's Beauty and the Beast. Then number 7, Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King at $1.15 billion.
But you know what? Lord of the Rings, Return of the King and the trilogy itself, they have like records on their own as far as awards and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't the highest grossing. I'll give them that. But it's one of those movies that the fan base for those movies.
I'll be honest. Yes. Those movies are timeless.
Timeless. It will keep on getting a new fan base. Generation after generation. Unlike
Beauty and the Beast. Barbie, Beauty
and the Beast.
Now, we're not talking about the cartoon. We're talking about the live
action
Beauty and the Beast. And it's so irritating because it's just like you said, like Lord of the Rings it's never going to be forgotten.
Correct.
This Beauty and the Beast movie, I forgot existed. I own this movie. It's on my shelf, and I forgot it existed.
Yeah, when I was reading the list earlier today, I was like, wait a minute, the cartoon Beauty and the Beast? I didn't think it went that high because I forgot there was a live action
Yeah.
with what's her name in it.
Emma Watson.
Yeah, Emma Watson.
Number 8, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest.
Interesting.
That's the second one, right?
Dead Man's Chest?
No, that's like the 4th or 5th one, right?
No, I thought that was the first one.
No, that's the Black Pearl. Curse of the Black Pearl is the first one.
Oh, then Dead Man's Chest is number 2 then,
Okay.
because that's where they find the chest of Davy Jones.
Right, you're right. See, they never put numbers on them. Because what is it? What's the third one? World's End, right?
Yeah, World's End. Yeah, Dead Man's Chest is number 2.
Okay. Because it's just like, that is a good movie. I just couldn't see that being on the top 10 highest grossing fantasy list, you know?
Yeah.
Because
At World's End.
at World's End.
Yep.
And then this one was weird for me. Number 9, Aladdin 2019 live action with Will Smith.
Really?
Yeah.
What's with these Disney remakes?
They make a lot of money, but they're not great movies.
They're not great movies.
But because they are banking on the nostalgia.
Yeah. On the entire generation that grew up watching them are now adults. And not only are they going to go watch them, but if they have kids, they're going to pay money for their kids to go watch
it as well, right?
Yeah.
In adopting them into that film, you know?
Well, and you got to think about it like millennials, because we grew up with movies,
Mm-hmm.
like it's probably one of the biggest movie watching generations. You know what I mean? Like Gen Z, they're moving away from going to the theaters, and they're all about streaming services
Yeah.
and watching everything on their phone. So millennials are really the holdouts for like going and seeing things live in theater.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I do it all the time.
Yeah, that's what I think, at least. I could be wrong, but I'm just pulling that out of my pocket and saying this is how it really is, you know?
Mm-hmm. And then number 10, Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides.
Okay, that one's like the 4th or 5th.
Yeah, that's where I was getting
Yeah.
confused. And
It's
that
weird that the Curse of the Black Pearl
is not on there.
is not on there, but I guess it was so new that people didn't give it a chance.
No, I think that probably got a lot of a cult following after it
Yeah.
came out and it was home release. And then, of course, after everybody
Watched it.
watched it, loves it, then they got to go see the second one when it comes out.
Dead Man's Chest.
Dead Man's
Yeah,
Chest.
it's weird that At World's End didn't get on that list, though. I guess it's because Dead Man's Chest wasn't as good as Curse of the Black Pearl. And so people were like, I'm probably not going to watch the third one.
I'll be honest, like you said, I think that should have been a single movie. I mean, in all honesty, they didn't get better.
I will say that the stories happening were not super great. The character, Jack Sparrow, was great.
Yeah.
That's
And I
the
think
only
that
reason that they made 5 movies.
Yeah, and I think they realized that to a degree. They're like, we like this character, so they did the trilogy, and then they started doing individual movies.
Yeah.
And I think everybody kind of, that franchise's movies, the first one was great,
Yeah.
and it was either equal to or less than, in my opinion. I like those first 3 movies,
Yeah.
but none of them were ever better than Curse of the Black Pearl.
I agree. But Dead Man's Chest does give us that banger of a song. The Calypso and Davy Jones song.
Oh, man.
That is pretty good.
Yeah.
Eerie chime, if you will.
Yeah. So that's it. That is the top 10 highest grossing fantasy films.
There you go.
Let's talk real quick about the popular ones,
All right.
which is funny to me because it's just like, all right, so you have, again, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Frozen 2, Frozen 1.
By technicality, these did make a lot of money.
But then you look at like what people actually consider to be fantasy, and it's the Lord of the Rings trilogy, right? That's
Yep.
number 1.
Yep.
Well, these aren't in any particular order, but on my list, this is number 1. Wizard of Oz.
Let's be honest. In our hearts, Lord of the Rings is number 1.
Yeah. Harry Potter, that's a huge one for people. We talked about it a lot
We have
20 minutes ago.
We have talked a lot about Harry Potter.
Pan's Labyrinth. If you've ever seen that, I love that movie.
Dude. Yeah.
Pan's Labyrinth is rough to watch,
It's rough.
but it's a good movie.
It is pretty good, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Spirited Away, if you're talking about anime, that is a huge one.
I've never seen it.
We need to sit down and watch Spirited Away at some point. It is the highest grossing cartoon ever.
Nuh-uh. Nazao is.
Do I?
Nazao.
What is Nazao?
I have no idea. I just know that it is the highest grossing cartoon. It's new.
Oh, okay.
Brand new. Or maybe Nazao 2.
At one point, Spirited Away was the highest grossing animated film of all time.
Okay. Yeah. Anime. Yeah.
Animated,
Okay.
not anime.
So animated. Okay. I got you.
That's putting together all possible cartoons.
So Nazao 2 grossed $2.2 billion. It came out this year.
Okay.
And that's obviously worldwide box office, but I've never heard of this movie. Nazao 2.
Nazao 2.
Never heard of it.
I'll have to look at it.
Or
Look into it.
Nizao. I don't know. It's Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's weird.
So number 6,
Yeah.
The Princess Bride.
Princess Bride.
You know what I mean? Come on,
It
dude.
is a very good honorable mention.
Not an honorable mention. A number 7
Oh, number 7.
on this list of just whatever. These are just examples of some of the most popular fantasy movies. Howl's Moving Castle, another Studio Ghibli Miyazaki film.
I've heard of it.
Chronicles of Narnia.
It's going to be different. It's going to be rock and roll.
Shut up. It's so stupid.
That's a little, it's a quote from the director for the new Netflix Chronicles of Narnia.
Gross. And then The Never-Ending Story.
It's the never-ending story.
So that's, some really popular examples of fantasy movies.
And I've seen almost all of them.
Almost all of them.
And I agree with number 1.
I'm sure you do. But then you'll have to watch Spirited Away. It's very, very Japanese.
Well,
But not in a negative way.
let me ask you this. Is there sushi and is there sumo wrestling?
Yes.
Is there actually sumo wrestling?
There's no.
How Japanese is it then, Jairus?
Why don't you come over to my house, watch it, and find out?
All right. Are there samurais?
There's action.
If there's no shogun, I'm not going to show my guns.
It is my second favorite Ghibli film.
What's your first favorite Ghibli film?
Princess Mononoke.
Dumb. Okay. No offense. I'm sure it's great. I've never seen it. Okay.
You want to talk about these books? Top 10 fantasy books of all time.
Okay.
Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
The Song of Ice and Fire. If you don't know what that is, Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait a minute. What?
The Wheel of Time.
Wheel of Time. Yep.
Mistborn.
Mistborn.
Never heard of that.
I have heard about it today when I was reading.
The Stormlight Archive.
Never heard that one.
The King Killer Chronicle.
King Killer Chronicle.
Mm-hmm.
That rolls off your tongue.
We've talked about number 7, which is his Dark Materials. If you don't know what that is, the Golden Compass.
Oh yeah, Golden Compass. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yep. The First Law. A Wizard of Earthsea, which has been adapted into a Studio Ghibli film, The Tales of Earthsea.
Why is none of the Harry Potter books showing up in this?
That's interesting, right?
That is interesting. I would have thought that would have been at the top, considering it sold the most copies.
Top 10 based off of popularity. That is, my list might be crappy. All right, moving on to video game.
All right. It's like, hold on. We're down to like number 7, and we haven't even brought up a single Harry Potter book yet.
All right, so.
Maybe it's because they burned them all.
They did burn all those books.
All those Baptists.
Yep. They did.
That's why it has the most copies sold. Because everyone's buying them to burn.
It was a reverse baptism.
Yeah. What? Yeah.
Instead of water, it was fire.
Oh, yeah.
So anyways, let's talk about these video games.
You shall be refined by fire. All right. Video games.
All right. So number 1, go ahead. Press your button. I know you have one for it.
Do I? I don't know. I don't know what the game is.
Yes, you do. Yes. The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim.
Heck yeah, man. Full thriller. That's my da-da-da song.
Mhm,
I
alright.
don't sing the actual lyrics.
Is that your Pearl Jam?
Yeah, that's my... yeah, the score for Elder
Elder
Scrolls Skyrim is my Pearl Jam. Never king, the face of sculling, nib of da. Cause I fall up and
Yeah, Skyrim.
That's the only one.
No, it's just it's. I didn't play a lot of it, but I can recognize how good it is.
I played a lot of it.
Well, so the difference between me and you and how we game.
You play a game for 3 weeks, and then a new one comes out, or you find out about a new one.
No, not entirely. I will play a game through as much as I feel I'm done with it, or if I beat it. You know what I mean? If I get what I feel like the value.
Okay.
If I'm not into a game, I'm not going to force myself to go through it.
Yeah.
For you, you'll buy a game and you will play hyperfixate on that one game for a very large amount of time.
Yes, this is true.
And I tend to, jump to game.
Yes, you do.
So I'm always playing something new, and
There was a time,
you played Skyrim for like 6 years straight.
Yeah, there's a time where, like last year, actually, I felt like every other month, you were like, "Hey, we need to download this game and play." I was like, "Okay, I guess so."
Oh, speaking of that, Helldivers. Have you heard
2?
Helldivers 2?
Yeah, they introduced another alien.
No. The aliens, we didn't defend it, and Super Earth got taken over, and now we're defending on Super Earth.
What?
Yeah.
I guess I need to get back in there.
So you're actually on Super Earth, and they've added like gun customization where you can add attachments and stuff to your guns and change the stats.
You guys can't see how my eyes lit up.
He got really excited.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I heard about it while I was on vacation. I'm like, I need to get back into Helldivers.
There goes my late nights defending Super Earth.
Well, we had so much fun playing Helldivers, and then it just kind of like, they weren't updating it quick enough, so we kind of got bored with it.
Well, I think it was you and I were getting bored with the fact that we didn't have a full fire team.
Yeah, you have to have 4 players to play this game.
Like, you're not getting the full benefit of completing the missions
Mm-hmm.
unless you've got all 4 people. And so, like, spawning in 2 random guys to come and help us, it just wasn't.
Yeah.
After a while, it got boring. So.
But anyways, Helldivers, great game.
Yeah.
But that's sci-fi, and we're talking about fantasy.
That's right.
So number 2, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. The Witcher is wild. Like, it's good.
It's good.
It's good.
I thought RuneScape would have been number 2.
I bet. Number 3 is Baldur's Gate 3, which I think a lot of these are more
Which is a naughty game.
yes and no. It
I
can
know.
be.
It can be. It cannot.
But they have the settings to turn off the naughty stuff.
So there you go.
So turn off the naughty stuff and play Baldur's Gate.
Yeah. Be holy as Christ is holy.
Number 4, and I played a lot of this game, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I get the Breath of the Wild every time I step outside, so I
Yeah.
don't have to play it.
Wow. You can bring your Switch with you outside and play Breath of the Wild.
Live it.
No, it was like where
See that bow over there?
yeah.
I live Breath of the Wild. I need to shoot more. It was raining. I couldn't go outside.
Uh-huh. Excuses.
You're right.
But like Zelda for the longest time was a very kind of more not linear, but more condensed adventures where you were going into dungeons that were very room to room, and
Yeah.
the open world was it was large, but it was very not open world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was an open, smaller world, and Breath of the Wild was massive. It was huge, and you could just go wherever and do whatever.
So I've told this story before to you, but my most memorable Zelda game memory, if you will, is not from an actual Zelda game. Back when online game websites, like free-to-play online games.
Like Flash games.
Flash games, yeah, thank you. Were popular. I played this game, and it stole Zelda, is what it did. But then it incorporated a bunch of slapstick humor from relatable stuff from our world into the game. And so, and one of the things is there's a McDonald's in the game. And your character goes in, they're like, we're all out of meat for our hamburgers. Can you help us find some? And you go out of the game and you go and you do stuff. You find rotten flesh. You take it to McDonald's and they're like, this will probably make pretty good burgers. And so
it's just a parody Zelda game, dungeon crawler, but you're getting these items and bringing them to McDonald's.
Yeah. And it's in like the way the game is set up is there's no other meat in the entire game. It literally, you find some rotten flesh, you take it in, they're like, we'll make hamburgers out of this because we're McDonald's. That's it. That's my most memorable Zelda.
You need to play a real Zelda game.
Yeah, you're looking at me with disgust.
No, it's just like Breath of the Wild literally takes a lot of inspiration from Skyrim.
Oh.
It's very, like, if you looked at it, it's like a third person almost, and you can do third person in Skyrim. But it's Nintendo's Skyrim.
Can you find Dwemer ruins?
Yes.
No, you can't. You lie.
That statement was a lie, Jairus.
A lie. It did not give me eagle powers. I found no nutrients. Okay, go ahead.
So anyways, moving on. I just finished so they're remaking this series.
Okay.
For this game. I just recently finished the second one, Final Fantasy VII. It's so good. Just talking about Final Fantasy.
Actually, I guess it is fantasy.
Yeah.
I don't know why when I think of Final Fantasy, even though
it's in the title,
name, I always think sci-fi for some reason.
Well, Final Fantasy VII does have aspects of fantasy and aspects of sci-fi in it.
Yeah.
But 7 is a, more kind of feels futuristic, kind of apocalyptic world, but then you go out and it's more fantasy with creatures out in the world, and it's just like weird. Like when you're in the city, it feels, sci-fi, and it's a mix of both. But most Final Fantasy games are more fantasy. Yeah, that one made a difference of making it a little bit more futuristic.
Fair.
So, but yes, fantastic storytelling.
Okay.
So. And you know who made the guy who made Final Fantasy VII? You know what else he made?
No.
He's my hero. He made Kingdom Hearts.
Oh yeah, dang it! I figured out. Dang it!
So another one, and I think this will be the last one we talk about: World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft, or WoW.
Wow.
Can I just say, out of all the games that we've talked about on this podcast, life sucking / controlling, World of Warcraft would be number one.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to people that their lives revolve around World of Warcraft, definitely that's like the highest group of people. Like the most people that their life revolves around the game that they play, it's World of Warcraft people.
Yes and no. I think it's fallen off a bit. The new major one right now, funny enough, is Final Fantasy XIV, which is also an MMORPG.
Yeah.
So that one is a little bit more life-sucking than WoW at this point.
I guess, but like with WoW, because they still update, they still release dungeons.
So does
it's set on a schedule. I get it. I'm just saying, like, the community has grown up with it.
Yeah.
And so there's guys that have been playing WoW since they were 12.
Yeah.
And they're still playing.
Do you remember, I'm not going to call out any names, but we went to a friend's wedding
Yeah.
And the best man at the wedding was giving a speech, and he was talking about how he how he met the groom. And he talked about it was they met on World of Warcraft, and we were all sitting there, and I will go just real loud. I go, "Wow." And nobody got the joke, and I looked like the biggest jerk.
Yeah, you did. I officiated the wedding. I was like, it caught me off guard. I was like, what? Wait a minute, what? Here I was thinking they were childhood friends, and he was like, he came into town to be with his friends. Like, no, we're best friends. We became friends like 2 years ago. We met in a chat room on WoW.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh,
wow,
cool. That's cool. But yeah, definitely surprised me.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. Anyways, you got any other games or anything?
No, that's pretty much what we've got on fantasy.
Yep. And just so everybody knows, the game that we were playing forever ago, what was it called? Blade and Honor.
Oh man, geez,
I forgot what it's called.
Throne of Liberty.
Throne of Liberty. We're not playing it anymore.
No.
We stopped playing.
It was funny because we played that. We heavily, we played it one night. No, we played it a lot of nights, but the last time we played it,
yeah,
the next day we recorded an episode of the podcast and
Mhm.
heavily promoted it.
Yeah.
And after we heavily promoted it on that episode, we never played it again.
No, we played it one more time.
Did we?
We played it one more time, and then I think I got on once or twice more after that. But then, yeah,
Well, part of the problem is your computer can only have one game on it at a time.
yeah, and now we're getting to the point where newer games coming out, they won't
Even fit on your computer.
They won't even do it. They won't run it. I got to get a different card
Or just a whole new computer.
or just a whole new computer. Yeah,
There you go.
there you go.
Isn't the big game right now on your computer Age of Mythology?
Age of Mythology retold, baby.
Yeah.
And me and Bigfoot have a lot of fun playing it.
Mhm.
So
Every time I come over, he's like, "Hey, Jairus, have you heard about Age of Mythology? Have you ever played Age of Mythology?"
oh, this is how he says it. Hey, Juris, have you ever heard of Age of Mythology retold? Have you ever played it before?
Hey, Jairus, watch me put in this code, and now the goblin plays soccer.
Did you know that if you use centaurs as your backup line, that they can?
I love how you talk about your son be like he's like an 18-year-old man who lives in his parents'
Because
basement.
that's what when he comes up and starts talking to me about it, that's what my automatic go-to is it's this guy who's dedicated his life to this game, and that's why he knows so much. But it's my son, and he's played maybe a total of 20 hours over the past couple of months, and he saturates, he soaks up all the information playing the game. So it's crazy, but yeah.
And he is nowhere near I'm not going to call your son's age out or anything, but he is nowhere near currently the age of 18.
Yeah, he's not in the double digits. So
he is in the single digits, and he is young, and you said, he is enthralled in this game.
Yes.
So
Total side note, but it has to do with fantasy. Valheim got an update.
Valheim, man, talk about a game I paid for and played once.
Yeah, you played it once, but dude, it was so much fun. I need to start playing that again. That's a fun game. Viking Minecraft, that's what it is.
Viking Minecraft.
Anyways,
so we've talked about fantasy. So Tyler, this is your transition. We are now transitioning into the corner. Step inside, if you dare. Shadows move, mysteries whisper, and the unknown awaits. Welcome to the corner.
the winged serpent is the most cunning of all things created. Long before computers in the modern era of man, the creature craftier than all other creatures, plagued humanity. We as a species have faced many adversaries throughout our history, but never has one been so ingrained into our collective mind. Some cultures revile and curse the beast, while others in fear of retaliation worship them. We now dare to discuss the reality of what is known today as the dragon. We're talking about dragons, y'all.
Wow. What the heck was that?
Did you like that?
Yeah.
That was pretty good, right?
Yeah. So ChatGPT that wrote that
No,
for you?
I wrote that.
Oh, you wrote that.
Okay, I've been getting some inspiration from other podcasts that I listen to, but some of it is like giving us almost a story intro.
Mm-hmm.
And so, or themed intros. There we go.
Yeah.
Give it a little bit of a story to kind of highlight what you're going to be talking about. And I was like, you know what? I want to try it out. So here I am for the corner, trying it out.
Wow. And you sure did try it.
Well, you definitely tried.
Yeah. No, that was good. So, dragons.
Heck yeah, man. So dragons is one of those things that is global.
Right.
Every culture has dragon stories.
Mm-hmm.
Every culture acknowledges dragons as something that is real.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are in the modern era, and we're like, no, dragons are fantasy. They're made up. There's no such thing as a flying serpent that breathes fire. And to that I say, you don't know that.
No, it is, though. It's crazy because it is one of the few mythological creatures that we speak of and talk about when we're talking about, the unknown.
Correct.
That there is evidence of dragons everywhere.
Yes.
Like it documented in places that, China's talking about dragons, but so is Egypt and, wherever else. And there's not really any way.
Mesoamerican,
Mm-hmm.
the Europeans, Mesopotamian, which is the Middle East.
And there's ways that, there's a possibility that these people could have, exchanged this information by word of mouth of what they thought they saw.
Yeah.
But not in a way that would be convincing that, some guy showed up and talked about a dragon and now that's the whole entire culture.
Yeah.
No, we're seeing documentation of dragons in places that are not communicating with one another.
Yeah, and it's important to bring up that dragon is the English term used for these creatures
Mm-hmm.
that are large reptilian-like creatures that most have the ability to fly and some have the ability to breathe fire. And each culture has their own name for it, but the description is similar across. So it would be the same animal family.
Mm-hmm.
It just has different names depending on where you go.
Right.
So what I love is the hardcore Bible guys that are like, the term dinosaur didn't show up until the 1800s. Before that, everyone was calling these giant reptiles dragons. So there's one argument for you there. If you believe dinosaurs existed, then you're just a part of a small group of people in the grand scheme of humanity that call them dinosaurs. So dragons, if you want to go the super technical route, there you go. But then we get into the more mystical side of stuff.
Right.
Where, there's stories of these ancient, powerful dragons. And depending on what culture you go to, they're either good or bad, So like I've got a couple here. You may have some notes on these too, but
most of my notes are references to the dragons in the Bible.
okay.
So
the Mashuso are associated with the Babylonian god Marduk, and they're a dragon-like creature. The Dinwin is an Egyptian dragon, and it is considered a serpent that breathes fire. It is a negative force, or it's not good. It's bad. They do have some good dragon-esque characters in Egyptian mythology.
I do actually have a few examples on mine.
Okay.
The Fenrir is the Norse. Did you talk about this?
Not yet.
Okay. Go ahead then.
No, I don't have that one. You go.
Oh, okay. So the Norse has Fenrir, a cursed dwarf turned dragon, guards treasure and is slain by a hero.
Okay. Is that from the Volsungs?
Volsung
saga?
It doesn't say.
Okay.
In India, they have the Varitra, a drought-causing serpent, is slain by Indra to release the water. So, and I got one more. In Japan, they have the water dragon. Water dragons are wise and divine, guardians of rivers and rain. So, still kind of like stories, examples, more characters than dragons in a general sense. But
yeah. What was the name of that dragon, the Norse one?
It's spelled F-A-F. F-A-F-N-I-R.
Fafnir.
Fafnir.
Okay. I knew it sounded familiar. I was like, what the heck? Why can't I think of it? That's why it's familiar. Fafnir, I believe, is where Tolkien took creative liberties for his dragon. Because of that idea of like, is super greedy for gold and has a gold hoard that it guards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Could be wrong, but I think that's right. Anyways, I just put the Europeans, they all associate dragons in a negative sense. So from the Celts to the Gaelic societies to the Gaelic culture to the Germanic cultures, they all associate dragons in a negative way. Tyrants associated with hoarding gold or treasure.
Mm-hmm.
The Mesoamericans, so the Aztecs and the Mayans, they have a deity dragon, Quetzalcoatl.
Axolotl?
Quetzalcoatl. He's the deity symbol of creation, knowledge, reign, and civilization. And the Chinese dragon Azure is worshipped as a deity.
Azure.
And they use dragons in their constellations, and it's a zodiac symbol. I've been seeing that circle around the internet. People are like, why is it the zodiac signs for the Chinese calendar? 11 of them are all animals that we know today that exist.
Mm-hmm.
And then one's a fictional animal.
Right.
So there's that. And then on top of that is Marco Polo's journal entries. And he talks about how the Emperor of Japan, or not Japan, the Emperor of China, his buggy or whatever he is pulled by dragons. He calls them dragons, giant reptilian creatures.
They were just, what is it? Komodo dragons pulling it.
Just some massive Komodo dragons. Yeah.
That could fly.
That can fly. Yeah. No, but I mean, dude, they're all over the world. But yeah, let's get into some Bible stuff.
Mm-hmm. So while the Bible doesn't feature dragons in the modern sense, the word dragon appears multiple times, especially in older English translations like the KJV, the King James Version.
And the reason for that is the word in Hebrew is tanin, which translated, the best translation would be dragon, dragon-like creature. It's not necessarily to say that like the only way to translate this is to call it a dragon, but the best way to translate the word tanin from Hebrew would be a serpent, a giant serpent-like creature.
Mm-hmm. These references often symbolize chaos, evil, or desolation.
Yeah.
Probably most of it in Revelations, if I'm not mistaken, even though I'm about to call out of Isaiah.
Yeah, I was going to say there's like 2 or 3 verses in Revelation that use the actual word dragon in it, but most of the terminology most of the times used for dragon is in the Old Testament.
Mm-hmm. So I have Isaiah 27, verse 1. In that day, the Lord with his sore and great and strong sword shall punish Leviathan, and he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea.
Crazy. A lot of people call the Leviathan an ancient dinosaur.
Mm-hmm.
Or dragon, if you will.
It could be Nessie.
Well, that's what I was saying is a plesiosaurus, I think is what they're called.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Lord. Yep.
A Pleodio. Yeah, one of the verses I have is Ezekiel 29, verse 3.
Mm-hmm.
The context is he's talking about Egypt and the Pharaoh of Egypt. But it says, "Speak and say, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I am against thee, Pharaoh, king of Egypt, the great dragon that lieth in the midst of his rivers, which hath said, my river is my own, and I have made it for myself." And then he goes on talking about the destruction that will come. But that word in there is dragon, the Tanin. So that's there in Ezekiel. What else you got?
So I have Revelations chapter 20, verse 2. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan.
Yeah. Yep. And then Psalms 74, 13. Thou didst divide the sea by the strength. Thou breakest the heads of the dragons in the waters. So to me, it seems like a lot of Jewish understanding for dragons would have been sea beasts.
Mm.
It would seem it's one of two things. It's a creature in the unknown of the ocean, or it's a creature that lives in the wild, like way out there. Remember when in episode 1, when we talked about satyrs,
Mm-hmm.
how the Bible references a creature that could be translated as satyr? And it's that same concept. It's like these really weird folkloric, mythological-like creatures that we see pop up in the Bible. They always pop up in places of desolation, like the wilderness, totally destroyed cities, just stuff like that, where there's no civilization. So it's interesting that that's how it is
Mm-hmm.
for all these creatures that we today call mythological, but for the reader of the time, very real.
Very, very real.
Anyways, what else you got?
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Just one kind of closing statement.
Okay.
In a Christian worldview, dragons often represent evil forces, but they are always defeated by God, his people, or divine justice.
Yep.
From ancient Babylon to the end of days in Revelation, the message remains, evil may appear fearsome, but it is no match for God's power.
I agree with that. And I want to give, I guess, connections here. So Satan is referred to as the serpent
Mm-hmm.
who goes and tempts Adam and Eve in the garden,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in Revelation, he's referred to as the dragon or the serpent. And in Old Testament, before Christ, the biggest villain to Israel is Babylon.
Mm-hmm.
And they look at Babylon as the most wicked, right? The main deity, Marduk, the god or the patron god of the Babylonians, was depicted as a dragon, or dragons were associated with Marduk. In the New Testament, the Romans are the main opposition to the people of God, so much so that they persecute them. And around I think it's the 2nd century, maybe getting into the 3rd century, the Romans start adapting the dragon head as their standard for some of their legions, and they're considered the dragon. And so it's kind of interesting to see that like these forces, these kingdoms that are built up and who are in opposition to the chosen people of God, take the symbol of the dragon. And Scripture calls out Satan as being the dragon. And so here we are, and it's, no, I'm not throwing any shade to any culture that looks at dragons in a positive sense. I mean, my sons love How to Train Your Dragon.
Right.
The movies, right? But when it comes to the realism or the reality of dragons, there's a very good chance that they are a demonic force of evil.
Right.
Not necessarily a strictly biological creature.
Mm-hmm.
More so a demonic force.
Right.
That can take on physical form. So it's something to think about, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I have to say about dragons.
And that's all I have to say on this episode.
That's all I have to say on this episode, besides Christ is Lord.
And the kingdom is now.
We are
The
saints that serve. Oh my God.
Oh man. Even flow.
Even flow.
Just a bunch of noise.
Oh my gosh.